Drop the brace.
Hey guys, Mike here from FullHouseRS. This is a guide for Shattered Heart, a skilling distraction and diversion that resets once a week from the time of completion. The basis of this distraction and diversion is really just a skill. While skilling, you'll receive strange rocks that form pairs to be put on the statue of Damarok in the Varrock Museum. That being said, there is no real requirements for this D&D, just a want to skill. Many people ignore it as some rocks are annoying to get, but the XP that you get at the end of every week is well worth it in my opinion, and to you higher level players, it is also a trim completionist cape requirement. However, if you really don't wish to receive the rocks anymore, I'm just going to come out and say it, you can disable them by talking to Barnabas Herma at the Varrock Museum. There are a few things to keep in mind before we start. Rocks need an inventory space to be placed inside. If your inventory is full, the item you are creating will be destroyed, so be very careful with high-priced items. After receiving your first rock, speak to Herma in the Varrock Museum to be given a rock collection bag. This is helpful in making sure that you don't destroy an item while you're going for rocks, because the rocks will be put in the bag while skilling. Also, the chance of receiving the second rock of a set, like 2 Herblore rocks back to back, is halved. Therefore, it's much faster to stagger the rocks you get to maximize efficiency. An example would be getting an Herblore rock and then going for a smithing rock and then going back to an Herblore rock. I'll be going down the skill list, so I'm starting with mining. Mining isn't that hard of a rock to get. My recommended way of getting it would be to mine concentrated gold or coal in the living rock caverns. If you don't have the levels for those, mining the highest rock you can is usually good enough. A relatively quick way that doesn't involve any levels is to mine essence. Agility can be one of those annoying rocks to get, but most of the time it's not that bad. You only receive rocks after a full lap of an agility course, meaning if you fail an obstacle, you must go back and do it again in order to have a chance to get a rock. Doing the highest agility course you can is generally the best way to get these rocks, though keep in mind if you die in the wilderness on the wilderness course, you will not keep the rocks. Smithing rocks have gotten a bit more annoying since the EOC, since no one wants iron knives anymore really, but overall these rocks aren't that bad. I'd recommend smithing gold ores with goldsmith gauntlets to maximize XP gained in order to get these rocks. Afterwards, you can either sell the gold bars for some loss, or smith the bars into bracelets to recoup even more of the loss, as well as gain a chance of crafting rocks. But more on those later. Keep in mind that superheat does not work for smithing rocks. Smithing in the Citadel also yields rocks, but at a much lower chance. If by chance you don't want to lose any money, you could buy ores from the GE and smelt them into bars, then sell them back. This usually ends in a profit. Now on to Herblore. These rocks really almost never give me a problem. The fastest way to get these would be cleaning herbs, as you lose very little money for doing this, and in some cases you even profit. The herb market fluctuates greatly, so you're going to have to do a little bit of research before buying your herbs. Adding secondaries to unfinished potions also works, but it's much more expensive. And also it's recommended to combine this with farming herbs for farming rocks, as you can clean the herbs from farming as well. Fishing is one of the fastest rocks to get most of the time, especially if you have access to monkfish. Monkfish used to yield both rocks in an inventory almost every single time, but they were eventually nerfed. Even so, monkfish is still the fastest way to get both fishing rocks. If you can't access monkfish, fishing lobsters or big net fishing are about the next best thing. Please note, only net and box fishing allows you to get rocks. Harpoon, fly, and bait fishing do not. If all else fails, crayfish are a very fast and very easy way to get the rocks out of the way, especially for lower levels. Thieving is a mixed bag when it comes to collecting rocks. Sometimes they happen right away, and other times they just take forever. You can get rocks from pickpocketing or stealing from stalls, and you can receive a rock even from a failed attempt. My preferred method for these rocks is to pickpocket master farmers. Not only do you get a chance to get some profitable herb seeds, but the master farmers have a left-click pickpocket option. If you can't do master farmers, it'd probably be best to stick to men and women or cake stalls. Keep in mind, pyramid plunder and monkey knife fighters do not yield strange rocks. Cooking, being an easy and fast XP skill, is just as easy to obtain rocks. Since burning food can still yield cooking rocks, cook the best food you're able to do, or the best food you can do without burning if you'd like to train at the same time. There really isn't much to say about this one. Crafting is one of the easier skills as well due to the fact that almost anything that you make can give you a rock. I personally make daily battle staves, making my own orbs as well, and that normally gives me both rocks by the time the week's over. However, as mentioned earlier, another popular method is using the gold bars you smelted from the smithing rocks and making bracelets. If you are too low level or just want to make a bit of money while getting the rocks, you can buy flax and make bowstrings to sell for profit. Fire making is a no-brainer when it comes to rocks. Burn the best logs you feel you can afford, as the chances of receiving rocks are the same for every type of log. Burning shades and curly roots will also work for fire making rocks, but fire making with a familiar or barbarian fire making will not. Fletching is another simple one. You can get the rocks by cutting any type of log. Usually you just have to cut some of the highest log you can do into unstrung bows as you are training to get the rocks. If you want a fast and cheap way to do it, you can buy maples, cut them into unstrung bows, and sell them for profit. And if you're lower level still, just cut the highest log you can do. Another simple batch of rocks to get is wood cutting. Obviously the best way to get these is to cut ivy, but if you're low level, willow or oak will suffice. Easy. Now on to rune crafting. Rune crafting is pretty easy if you just use your Wicked Hood every day. If you don't know what a Wicked Hood is, you can grab one from Tam McGruber in Northeast Berthorpe. The Wicked Hood gives at least 100 free essence a day, as well as 2 free teleports to an altar of your choice, providing that you fed it the talisman beforehand. Once you're at the altar, just make runes as you normally would, and you'll have a rock chance for each essence. It's very rare not to have both rocks by the end of the week using this method, but if you don't, head over to good old RuneSpan and get the rocks you have left. Farming can be one of those last rocks you need to rush and get before the week is up. My method is to farm herbs. Generally, just farming the herbs will give you both rocks, but if it's getting close to crunch time, I have marigolds and tomatoes planted that I can harvest on my herb runs to give extra chances for rocks. For lower levels, stick to the highest allotment seeds you can use. Just remember to always use super compost and magic secateurs if you have them, since rock chances are based on resource gathered. And now for the most annoying rocks to get in my opinion. Construction is annoying in the fact that it either costs a lot to get the rock fast, or takes forever with the cheap method. Either way, I'll explain both. A fast but more expensive way would be to train as usual, butlers and oak doors in my case, though more times than none I stick to making flat pack oak chairs since you can just AFK them. If you want a cheap way to do it, there's limestone furnaces, which are much cheaper but have a lower chance of yielding a rock. Construction rocks are given based on hotspot / flat pack creation, not per plank. And last but not least, and runner-up for the most annoying rocks to get, is Hunter, though for different reasons than construction. Hunter rocks like to hide from you and take forever at times, then sometimes pop up within 5 minutes. Their lack of a normalized appearance rate is what makes them annoying in my opinion. Anyway, the best way to get these rocks would be falconry, as the animation for catching the kebbit is very fast and the rocks can be received even from a failure. If you don't have the 43 hunter requirement for falconry, there's another simple and somewhat fast way to collect these that involves wild kebbits in the Piscators hunter area. Take a hatchet and collect some logs from the nearby oak trees. Once you have an inventory full, set a deadfall trap, but instead of waiting for your prey, immediately dismantle the trap. There's a chance of getting a rock every time you dismantle the trap, regardless of if anything is actually inside. Cut more logs if you run out, and repeat until those rocks appear in your inventory. Now that you got all the rocks in your bag or in your bank, it's time to use them. Head over to Varric Museum and over to the statue plinth in the southwest corner of the ground floor. You can click Add To and you'll begin adding the rocks you have, in pairs, onto the statue, receiving an EXP reward for each pair based on your current level in that skill. Once all the rocks are placed on the statue will come alive for a few seconds before exploding back into pieces. The rocks are once again scattered and you'll have to go collect them again. Each time you complete the statue, Hermas will give you a piece of the replica statue you can use to create one in your own house. If this is your first time completing it, he will also give you a plinth as well as a piece. Also keep in mind that while you can collect the rocks again immediately after the statue explodes, Herma won't allow you to finish the statue until 1 week has passed from the last time you completed it. And since there are 30 pieces to the statue, it will take you 30 weeks to complete the full statue. A task that might sound daunting at first, but if you think about it just as an EXP boost every week, it helps alleviate the feeling a little bit. And that about wraps us up for the Shattered Heart Guide. Hopefully this helps get a few more people into collecting rocks weekly, as I believe it's an overly ignored D&D. This has been Mike from FullHouseRS. Thank you all for watching.